unexpected and interesting way of starting off this plenary. You'll see what I mean. We have a demonstration for you. I hope you enjoy it, and I'm going to ask onto the stage Mr. Laurent DA DALTO. Please give him a big round of applause.
Good morning, everybody. Well, first I would like to send a warm thanks to the people from Prisma Emploi for inviting us for this demonstration today. And I will start to apologize because I know you had a short night, and I advise you to drop your cell phone and put your glass on, because the video you will see, the image you will see may awake you right now, so really sorry for that. So in the next 10 minutes, I'd like to make you feel how the future of recruitment and training can be. And I would like to have a special focus on manual trades. Today, we all notice that there's a gap between the expectation of the trainer and the way we're training them. And this is especially true when you're addressing the new generation. We call that generation millennials. So for my demonstration right now, I would need a sample of that millennials. So let me invite someone from the audience, selected randomly. It should be a millennial, sorry. Millennials has to be born after, let's say, 80s. So let me see. Oh, that's the way you have to communicate with millennials. So what's your name? Kevin. Kevin. Hi, Kevin. Stay beside. So you see, millennials have quite a new way of communicate. They have different communication channels from traditional whiteboard or PowerPoint slide. A recent study demonstrates that the maximum concentration time of a millennium in a classroom is no more than 12 minutes. And the same people can concentrate on a multiplayer shooting game for an average session time of 1 hour and 57 minutes. That's a huge difference. And this clearly demonstrates that education should go through experimentation. Learners need to feel and practice, so to understand and stay focused. And this is clearer if you're trying, like what we do in my company, to address manual trades. This type of skill is often related to second-class job, not really the kind parents and even sometimes teacher advise a student to go for, at least initially. People like welder, painters, electrician, and so. The kind of people that using this type of tool, for instance. Kevin, did you ever use that before? You see that those jobs suffer from a negative image. So today we're fighting to attract people on that trades, and we even start to struggle to find skilled instructors. But here, new technology like virtual reality, VR, and augmented reality, AR, can help. Not only to train and educate people, but also to promote the job and attract millennials using their own communication channel. Look. Can you take that, please? Put the glass on. Can I take that? Yeah. You see, no need for user manual. It's just no long, boring setup. Just play, start and play. Kevin can see us. He is fully immersed into a virtual world. Virtual reality rebuilds all the world around you, and everything you see is purely virtual. So you need a fully immersive helmet like this one. Here, Kevin is walking around a virtual workshop. As you can see, he has a limited area to move around. It's like a virtual cage. When Kevin is too close to a limit, a virtual wall will appear in front of him, and he knows that if he crosses it, he may interfere with the real world, and then he may also face potential real injuries. But unlike a monkey in a zoo, he can easily walk over that cage using a very common way of transportation we're all using today called teleportation. So yeah, Kevin can teleportate anywhere in that world, creating an unlimited space of activity. Well, the rest is quite obvious. We will replicate a real world into a virtual one, and we will ask him to interact with it as it would do in reality. The main difference here is that as we're tracking his hand and his head for the simulation to run, we can also analyze in real time what he's doing and check if it's right or wrong. Here, as a student in electricity, Kevin needs to learn how to proceed to repair an industrial equipment in a safe way. This is part of the accreditation, and he can learn it as he would do in reality. Nice thing is that, like in a video game, we can create hazard. He can be in danger. He can be injured. He can even die. No matter, same player shoot again. But believe me, when you're wearing that glass, and you will be able to test it after the show on our booth, the things looks very real, and you don't want to die. Okay, that's great, that's amazing. We have a wonderful tool to attract millennials' interest and train them. For Kevin, it is as good as a game. We can keep it concentrate for more than an hour, easily. And this applies not only for millennials, it works for everybody. So we're good. Well, not yet, not really. There's still something missing. We can't leave him play alone like that. We need to be able to track his activity, so to evaluate him and eventually guide him so to acquire the proper skills. Today, that's basically the role of the instructor. Unfortunately, the instructor is a rare and valuable resource. So valuable that we can't ask him to stay beside each and every student working in a virtual workshop like that. Remember that there's still need for a real world, and we need to have a link between that real world and the virtual world, so the instructor need to be that link, and they need to stay in the real workshop. Most of the existing VR and AR simulators today are great, but they require the instructor to stay beside the student. And that's a big drawback that may lead to the reject of such a technology by the instructor, mainly. But for that also there's a solution, and their solution is called big data. And that's why we created Vulkan. What's that? Well, Vulkan is that thing. Vulkan is designed to track and analyze each and every motion into a virtual world. It's a cloud platform collecting all the information from the educational big data generated by the simulator itself. Vulkan can be considered as a virtual assistant for the instructor. The instructor will create his class, register a student, and assign each student an activity. To make it short, he will give to Vulkan the process to follow. The simulator, based on that, Vulkan will drive the simulator, so each student will be assigned with an appropriate exercise to do. This is a great tool also if you want to evaluate a bunch of people. You can just check the list of students, and then you have the score for each of them, like the things you see at the bottom of that page. But coming back to the training, the instructor will just check his phone or his computer, and he can react appropriately depending on the score of the student, either in the real world or in the virtual one. At the same time, Vulcan gives the student some responsibility for their own learning and progress, because the student will be able to access this information, of course, too. Hey, by the way, Kevin, seems you spend 24 hours working on that simulator? What have you done last night and the night before? Yeah, okay. Oh, that's all right. Give me back the device now. Okay, thank you. Thank you. You can hold it down. Time saving, improvement of the skill evaluation and learning, impact on the environment, on the image of the work, of the job. All that is just a limited list of the benefits brought by this technology. VR and AR enable us to create an unlimited work situation, and control system like Vulcan turn them into individual training environment. So even for very manual skills job, we can now have a dedicated training approach. We can promote self-learning, and we can provide a lifetime control of the evolution of the skills. This is quite useful when you're talking about HR management. This type of job are highly demanded and often require highly expensive environment so to practice in real. Thanks to this technology, we can make it cheaper, quicker, and one of the most important things, safer. And indeed, it's not the future of education that I'm talking about, it's what it is today. We install this type of training environment in emerging countries like India, Mongolia, Pakistan, Eastern Europe, Africa, so on. It starts to pop up too in industrialized countries, but we need to adapt our methods for that. It is no more a question of learning first and then practice. It is experimentation. It is practice and then understand how to do better. The role of the instructor must be redesigned too. He is more a pedagogist, a guide assisted by intelligent and digital technology. Quite a big difference from the things he is used to do, especially in manual works like the one I introduced. VR and AR simulator are just the tool for that, just like the video and the computer were in that time. The real key question is the way we will use it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much indeed. That was fascinating, Laurent. I think you are going to stay on the stage with us. Come and take your seat, because I'm going to ask up the other participants of this round table. And I'm sure it'll be interesting that they've been watching your demonstration. They will be able to interact and see how they can bring elements into what they have to tell us. Let's welcome Jacques van den Broek van Randstad. Thank you very much. Welcome. We're also delighted from BCG to have Jean-Michel Kay. And last but not least, Armand Soe from Sulzer. Thank you very much for being here with us today. Right, same format as before. I'll ask you a few questions, and then afterwards I'll come into the audience and take your questions. Please feel free to show me if you want to have the microphone. Let's start with... why don't we all sit down? I think we'll be comfortable. They've given us chairs here, so let's all take our seats. So let's start with Jacques van den Broek from Randstad. Do you see an increasing number of companies using digitization in order to open up their services?
Yeah, clients, you mean companies? Yeah, well, the discussion is absolutely there. I think it's early days. This is one element. But we do see HR departments absolutely debating amongst themselves. Should we do this ourselves? Should we develop these capacities inside? Or should we buy services like that? That's definitely an ongoing discussion. Yeah.
And what is the conclusion? Should they be doing it themselves or should they be outsourcing it?
I think it's a mix. So, for example, bringing in new people, I think you might outsource that. But what is increasingly the issue is everybody in the company who is 45 years and older, they still need to work 20 years and they still need to be valuable for the company for the next 20 years. So it's not so much are you good to enter our company, but are you good to stay with our company? And I think HR should rewrite its priorities there. Absolutely, yeah. Having said that, the fact where companies outsource those activities to us, this is a fast-growing activity within the company. So that's an answer also, I think.
What are the benefits of using digital?
Well, a few were mentioned. Of course, it's speed. It's adapting to a different audience. Millennials, absolutely, we recognize that. When they work 7 months with a company, they think they're loyal. And they want continuous feedback every day, ideally positive. So they need a different approach. But this can be scary for the more senior members. So you might take a different approach there. That might still be classroom to begin with, and slowly moving into. So you need to adopt that. Yeah.
Are you sure about that? I mean, I'm a kind of like senior person, I suppose, but I'm kind of totally be up for this. I don't know. Is it a little bit of a... Well, you're shaking your head. I don't approve of that. I would be totally kind of... It's just a question of getting people to know things, isn't it? Of taking them through the process. I would be totally up to using things.
You might be a great gamer, that's okay. But the fact that I go to you and I say, well, you're working for 10 years or 15 years in this company and we're not absolutely sure you're going to make it to the next 20, that's scary. And if we then take you through a game to talk about this, or we do it face to face, that's absolutely something that is new to people. So we developed a program which we call an employability scan. We set you in a room, you get all sorts of questions about yourself, where you're coming from, how you're educated, your wishes in life, and then we confront you with your employability compared to another 1,000 people in the same situation. Honestly speaking, in many European countries, because of collective labor agreements, training just for a job in a company, people are not so employable to the outside world. And if you do that in a game or in real life, that's a scary conclusion, but we still need to confront everybody with that, and companies need to confront their employees with it, and employees need to take the self-responsibility amongst themselves and not be surprised, because Mr. Ryder said that a fixed job, a decent job is what we're looking for. That's good, but you might still lose it tomorrow, and then what? You need to be prepared for a different future.
But take us through concrete examples. I mean, what do you tell people? What do they learn from these games? Can you give us a concrete example of what I could learn?
Yeah, so there's a few conclusions based on these games. First is, you're great, no problem. You got a great future with the company, not to worry. You're great, but 40% of your job content is going to change and it's going to be more digitized, so we're going to have a bespoke training for you. Or, in the next 3 to 5 years, 70% of your job content is going to be automated. We need to look for another job, and let's get you another job outside. And we've opened a window based on your capabilities on where you might go, and we have a company to help you with that.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sure there'll be some questions. Jean-Michel Caille ou Caille?
Caille.
Caille, voilà, comme les oiseaux. Can you tell us how digitalization for you is impacting HR management?
Well, yes. First, let me tell you, I'm talking on behalf of rather sophisticated companies. My clients are only, Fortune 1000, so we're talking of that sorts of companies. So I mean, one thing first is, what I see is that, and what we anticipate is that 20 to 30% of the needs in workforce will be digital. So when we were talking about the few hundred guys, buying digital talent was already difficult, but not that much. But now we're talking about thousands in each corporations to buy digital talent and to make sure that we will have either digital leaders, digital experts, or hybrid people. Hybrid people are the ones that are making the link between the reality and the real work and the jobs, which are the jobs that we have today, that the guys that will change 50% of their work tomorrow. And by no means you can buy this talent. 20–30% is not available on the market. So there's one strategy: you can buy a little bit, you can rent a little bit. So this is where your corporation or your services are here for. We can rent talent and more companies are running very sophisticated talent. But by no means it will be sufficient. We will need to make it. And corporations are not yet ready to make talent, 20–30% of digital talent, for the next 3 to 5 years, because this is not in 10 years, right? This is in 3 or 5 years. And that's the biggest challenge I see for the HR departments and for the corporation, is how are they going to build this talent, knowing that, I mean, the digital talent does not come for the same employer value proposition than in the past. It's a different generation, they have different expectations, they want different organizations, they want different way of working, they want different leadership. So that's a totally fundamental change in the way that HR will have to do his work, and also leaders in the company.
But surely it's a cultural thing too. You're all talking as if it's exactly the same in every country. I mean, even if you look at European countries, there's a great difference between the attitude to hierarchy in all of our different European countries. So I'm sure this is a very different kettle of fish depending on your culture and your background, your country.
Agree about the culture, but it's not necessarily the country. It can be also the type of work, the type of corporations, the industry sector. But let's talk about agile, right? Agile is, or holacracy, or all sorts of new forms of organization. We see it coming and coming increasingly. This comes from the IT. We have a new way of working. It has extended to other functions. Now, large projects, large programs are run on a more agile way, an holacratic way. And now the idea is, how can we, bring that to scale? And honestly, this is an idea that is pervasive everywhere in the world. I see it in India, I see it in China, I see it less in China, I would say. I see it in the US, you agree. I see it in the US, I see it in France, etc. And when we will try to bring that at scale, meaning that we will organize a full corporation on a holacratic way, you cannot imagine what it is. It's a fundamental shift in the way people are working. Then we will face many issues.
Yeah, maybe. So hierarchy today is you're longer in the company than someone else, and that's hierarchy. And that's going to change, and that needs to change in every country, and in some countries that might be tougher than in others. But when we talk digitization in my country, the people that bring most new things to the table are my trainees. So I've totally turned upside down the hierarchy. That's tough for people.
What kind of new things?
So, when we digitize the way we work, so a consultant in a branch, when you bring in digital, it's a totally new way of working. My management is not going to invent how they're going to work, so you need to bring in young people. We organize hackathons, so within 24 hours, for a group of 4 people, average age 17, have built a disintermediating business model for my business. That's the kind of input you need, which is scary for management, but that needs to change. You need to really change your hierarchy within the company, and do it quick.
Okay, Armand Soy from Salsa, how are you using digital in HR?
Well, the first thing for me as head of HR, is to first to increase productivity. I know the word is probably not the one you want to hear today, but it's productivity. It's what led me to change things. And using big data, you mentioned big data earlier, that's the way you can first work on data analytics and connect database and get results. That's the first thing. And the other one, what we're trying to do, and what I'm getting there for my function and for the company, is just to get some kind of alignment. Because we're talking about many things here, but never forget that these can't be implemented if you are not able to harmonize your policies in the company. And many companies are not there yet at all. So you have these things. We have a lab. I have the same lab. I was looking at the pictures. I have the lab. I can do the demo exactly like Kevin did. I have these. I can recruit guys. But it's one piece of the element. What you need first is just to get your data right. I'm a big fan of big data, and if you have this right, then you have enormous possibilities for the company.
How do you do that? How do you make sure your data is right?
Well, and that's the beauty of this. When we in my former company, when we did this, I had guys I mean, HR guys in my team that were struggling just making one single chart. I call it the killer question when you have the CEO business review. And I remember one of my HR guy in South America, and he got this information 3 days before the meeting that the CEO would like to see some of the headcount evolution, basic stuff. I'm sure you've been facing this. And the poor guy was there. What do? Panic sets in. I turn to the finance department. I finally get hold of an Excel spreadsheet, and finally I do my slide at 2:36 in the morning, the day before the meeting. And then the CEO is asking the question. You said, wow, you're telling me that you're doing productivity effort in South America, but I see that your workforce is increasing by 15%. Sounds rather counterintuitive. I mean, I'm sure that's real life. That's what I've experienced in my company, in many companies. And with big data, what we put in place, we just say something very simple. One common language, one common data. The guy doesn't need to create his slides. He just needs to focus on what matters. He has time to analyze things, and he can answer very easily. Well, you forget that 12 months ago we make an acquisition there, and that's the reason why you have your workforce increasing. And by the way, productivity in terms of sales per head has increased. So you have many ways. So I think the first thing for me is first being able to get a better analysis on data. And it's rather easy to do today.
Yeah, maybe another example of big data. So we help our HR departments and our clients to analyze for the last 3 to 5 years which profiles of people were successful in a job. And that sometimes is quite counterintuitive. And it's crucial to open up what we call your talent pool, because your successful profile of today is not going to be around tomorrow.
Can you give us an example? I'm fascinated. What did you find out?
Yeah, well, for example, what we see in general is that 50 people 50 plus, they don't necessarily lose their jobs quicker, but it's tougher to get in because it doesn't really gel with the ideal profile. And then we present these people anonymously just on the back of what they are able to do. And then they get hired because big data, in the good sense of the word, anonymizes people.
You see, about the older people, that's
oh, sure, there's nothing wrong with you, but that's just the first instance. So I only met you 10 minutes, but I think that's okay.
You've got a future, Alex.
Laurent DA DALTO, what do you think about this? And what would be your recommendations in order to use these techniques for HR management? And I'll already come into the audience. We have some tweets, so if you could answer that, and then I'll take your questions. Sure. Please show me if you want to ask a question. I'll give you the microphone.
Yeah, so just to answer your question, Alex, we discovered that a virtual training system like the one I show you, and we have different one depending on the trades, because when you're driving a crane, for example, you will not use that things, but you will be seated and so on. But skills is one thing, but the way we track the skills, so the small dashboard I show you on the side is really the key to be able to follow up the evolution of the skills over the time, to have, and it should be big data on the cloud, because we need to be able to share this information. At least it should be like a social network of the skills of the guy, like for the medical, in the medical sector, you have a folder that follow you. So it should be that kind of things, if we need to make it work.
Question to you. This morning we talked about the diversification of forms of work, and when you visit a plant of a company, you see permanent staff, temporary staff, freelancers, and so on. How can company manage this workforce mix? How can we make sure that all these different workers having different statuses, different employment conditions, do work together? What kind of HR policy companies have to implement?
Can I? Maybe I'm going to start. It's going to be very short, because one thing that I've seen is this contingent workforce that you mentioned, which is working in the company but not part of the company, can reach 20 to 40%, right? Which is not nothing, right? It's something. And today, who manages them? The purchasing director, not the HR director. So that's one thing that, and we have laws that make us as CHRO think, okay, I'm not going to manage them because otherwise we'll have some employment law issues, etc. So one of the things is, how will we make careers? How will we grow people that are not our people? How are we going to change the management so that they integrate those people really and manages them? So that's a totally new paradigm, and then we're working on this and I have clients that are starting to have the HR director really managing this contingent workforce and having them part of career and plans, etc. And here we're looking at the top talent, especially. And then the top leaders is how they come to a win and win mentality when managing them. But maybe you want to add on that.
Yeah, I mean, my answer, I would say there is no straight answer. It's very much a question of volume. I have had different experiences in my life. If you have 15% of your workforce being temporary workers, it's okay. And you can manage this rather easily, provided that you have this kind of promise that you will permanently hire some of the guys, which is the way it works. If you don't have these, even with 15%, it starts to be difficult. If you reach now 50% of your workforce, that's when you start running in trouble. And frankly, that's not what I would advocate. And then you have a complete different model, which I have as well to manage, which is nearly 100% of your workforce being temporary, which is a complete different thing. And on each of the three categories, and I have had to run this in parallel, you need complete different answers. And the one, when you have nearly 100% of your workforce being temporary, requires an enormous amount of training, by the way. What you saw there is just take safety, health and safety, and the nature of the training you require there, it's enormous. And that's probably where you need more training, you need a complete different type of managing people. That would be my answer, but it's not straight. I mean, from one company to another, even within a company, from one business to another, it's absolutely different. That's my experience.
Yeah. So I all agree with what's been said. It's also complex because of regulation. So in that sense, we also, you know this, we advocate also countries to reinvent labor contracts and to reinvent social security, because it's complex because of the regulation. So that needs to change, and we need to embrace flexibility. And the discussion is still very much defensive, as if freelancing is a negative choice. We know objectively 60–70% a positive choice. So, you know, that needs to be facilitated. And in some countries, this is still a very tough discussion. Mr. Ryder talked about the fact that we need to move forward here together with unions, employers, employees, and intermediaries such as us. I think we can define the future. And then how you treat people in a way, it doesn't matter if you run a company, if it's a freelancer, if it's a temp, or it's your own work, if it's your own worker, right? They all have a job to do in the company. If the training takes 1 day, it's 1 day. If the training takes 6 months, you need to organize it differently. But please make it one workforce in terms of also acceptance and appreciation.
One word, because Alexis said cultural differences, but what you just said made me think of, and we don't need to go really far away, take UK and France, just this. and in UK, making some people permanent is just an insult to them. They just don't want it because they will be less paid, they want the freelance and everything. And in France, it's just the exact opposite. So if you just start thinking that you do the same in every country, then you're just lost. And you have tons of examples like this.
So if I've got a company, I want to start digitalizing my HR, what would be the advice you would give to me? How can you make me do it? What kind of investment am I going to have to put into it? And what are the obstacles that I'm going to have to cross?
I don't know if some of you have read an article like 10 years ago. It was called Why We Hate Human Resources. I'm sure that some of you have read this article. I'm head of HR. I know this. Usually I pass this article to many of my guys so that they know a little bit what the business think of the HR guys. I mean, they will never say it loudly, but you know, you can already sense it here. Because these guys, for 20 years, they've been talking, you know, hopeful rhetoric about being strategic partners, getting a seat at the table. The reality is that or few of the HR professionals are there. They have no seat, and the table is locked inside the conference room to which they have no key. That's my view. And my view as well that digital or big data is helping. It's really the key to open that door. Because the day you build your credibility based on numbers when you're an HR guy, it's a complete different ball game. Usually how it works, you start with this huge pressure on your costs. It's always the name of the game when I start a new job. Well, it can be 15% saving, 20% saving. So what do? You cut heads. How do you do more with less people? Wow, big challenge. But you have to do it. And you have not much time for doing this. But if at the same time, very quickly, you're able to give the right numbers, right direction to the company, and right thing, then all of a sudden people will put less pressure on your cost and think, oh, probably you could deliver some other value. Usually it takes 12 months there. So my view is that the most important thing is just to make sure that you understand that in a company, getting your data right is of an utmost importance. So don't work blindly. And now a piece of advice, don't think it's easy. I was mentioning the fact that we are not harmonized usually in companies. My experience usually that we made 8 acquisitions just this year. 8 acquisitions, think of this. The pace at which we do things. You have different policies, different types of things, different gradings. How can you give anything? You know, I could turn to you and say, oh, build me something. And you said, yeah, but how do you pay the bonus when someone is leaving after 6 months? I have no clue. Then you're lost. You can be as talented as you are. So you need to do your homework. You need to harmonize everything. You need to align. You need to have standard. And then the beauty starts because you can really get fast on nearly everything. Recruitment, people review, data analysis.
What do I have to do, Laurent?
Yeah, I'm thinking at 2 different levels here because we're talking about digital for the HR management. So digital for the organization itself, how to turn everything and use the digital tools for the organization. That's one layer. But I'm thinking about, I'm very concerned by the manual skills. And I'm thinking even if we're coming to Industry 4.0 and all that things, robots everywhere and so on, I'm still thinking that human skills will be essential in different places for maintenance, for some kind of things. And the big issue we will face is that, well, I have kids and they're not interested at all by these kind of things because they think it's dirty, it's nasty, whatever. So we really need to attract those people, those very young people, I mean, to this kind of job. And we really need, because if we don't do that, we cannot survive only with, you know, everything automated and digital. So there's 2 layers in the discussion. It's very, well, there's specific tool to train on digital, you know, digitalizing the plant and so on, but very digital can also help to come back to the hard stuff. And I think this things is a key problem that we will face if we don't use that kind of tool, not to train, but just to attract and recruit, of course, the young people in that area.
Take Jacques van den Broek and then Jean-Michel Kai, and then we have to end, unfortunately. We've got 1 minute left.
Yeah, so just tips for HRs. First, we talked about data. As you need to join forces with IT and marketing because the HR department is not about selecting people you want, but promoting yourself and getting the people you want. So it's really a sales job instead of a recruiting job. I think that's crucial. And the second one is get a mid to long-term planning of the whole of your staff. What does your business look like in terms of capabilities in the next 3 to 5 years, and start acting upon that. I think it's not so much the data for an HR person, it's the mindset, because you need to fight your way in. My impression is that's okay with you, but that's still, it's a bit the risk averseness of HR that you need to overcome. And if data gives you the self-confidence to fight your way into the boardroom, please do so.
Couldn't agree more. But I'm just saying it's a key for some guys we don't have these. So I fully agree.
Just let me explain this joke. He says, I've just seen the huge hole of the security of the national health budget. That's why that gaps, I think, is funny for the non-French people. Yes?
I'll be quite short. I mean, the only advice I can give you, and because it's that, digital, world, word of mouth is important. So customer experience is important, but also talent and employee experience is also important. So when you think about digitizing your HR, think about employee experience and think the moment of truth. Because there are only, 15 or 20 moments of truth where, because we've analyzed that in several corporations, where an employee feels that the employee value proposition is here or not, It's about how you access to pay, how you access what's your dialogue on your career, etc., etc. So select the moment of truth and design your customer journey, which is your employer journey, around those moments of truth. Don't listen to Workday or to any of the guys that want to sell their thing. Think the moment of truth of your employees, and you'll get a great, customer journey.
And don't forget, because we're talking about all this, I'm just thinking of just this week, I got a feedback from guys. It was face-to-face meeting and training. We got them access to the executive committee, to the CEO for a couple of hours, and guys said, wow, I'm in for the next 5 years. It's just this. I mean, it comes from the heart as well. I mean, you can have all these techniques, all the things, but if people don't trust, where you're going and how you want to go there, you're just lost. So that's more important than anything else. Don't forget this.
That's the moment of truth, I'm afraid. But we could talk about this for hours. But we're very happy that you've given us at least some of the ideas. I think, gentlemen, you will be here during the break. So big round of applause. Thank you very much indeed.